One is from the East Coast, and the other from right here in Washington State. One tastes like regular maple syrup, while the other tastes like someone poured over a decade of hard work into a bottle and charged you accordingly. This 8-ounce bottle is about $5. This 5-ounce bottle is about 20 bucks. And here's the sticky part. While most tree syrups are sourced from high-profile trees, this one is made from what most people consider a weed tree. On this episode of Field Report, we tap into the making of this liquid gold and why the cottage industry is advocating for its production. From above, Eatonville's packed forest in the foothills of Mount Rainier looks asleep. But deep in the trees, something rare is waking up. When temperatures freeze overnight, then ever so slightly warm up in the daylight to rouse the tree's circulatory system, nature decides whether there will be syrup or disappointment. And in the center of it all, a tiny wooden enclosure is listening for a sound most of us never hear. The moment sap begins to run. It lasts indefinitely, but for a few volunteers, that tiny window is worth an entire year's wait. Tucked behind university research plots, muddy trails, and tubing networks, it sits there, just waiting for that one perfect winter thaw. When luck meets opportunity, maple syrup producers and volunteers treat a cold snap like a treasure map. They're all in on a little-known fact. Washington State makes maple syrup. It all starts with Bigleaf. Not a big leaf, although its size does speak for itself. It's a species of maple native to the region. Sounds rare and unlikely? Well, that's because it is. And it also requires an equally big commitment. Because tapping bigleaf maple isn't just a hobby or a job. It's a seasonal gamble, a high-stakes race against time, temperature, and the trees themselves.
You can see a lot of young big leaves sprouting up here, and here's some more here. I've been in the lumber and the wood products industry for 40 years. Nobody ever wanted to talk to me about lumber, but everybody wants to talk about maple syrup.
This is University of Washington professor Kent Weiler from the School of Environmental and Forest Sciences.
Why is it called bigleaf? Obviously.
All maples produce sap, but their sugar content varies across species.
The most common tree is called the sugar maple. It's the one that turns red in the fall. That's the predominant species in the Northeast, and its sugar content is 2 to 3% in the sap. Back east, of course, they have a real hard freeze in the winter.
In places like Vermont and Maine, maple syrup season is almost always guaranteed. 6 solid weeks of deep freeze, followed by predictable thaws.
During that spring, it will warm up above freezing during the day and drop below freezing at night. And it's that process that causes sap to flow through the tree. You have to have about 40 gallons of sap to make a gallon of maple syrup.
That's twice the sugar content for half the predictability.
So you've got to haul that much from the forest, you've got to cook that much. It's just 2 or 3 times more work.
And that's before the weather and/or holiday plans get involved, whichever comes first.
If it freezes Christmas Day, you've got to go out and collect sap the next day. You're not quite sure when those people are going to be needed because it's all so weather dependent. Above 38 degrees, you run a risk of bacteria in your sap. So you really have to work hard and fast when the weather lets you.
But that doesn't stop producers from chasing this once-a-year sugar high, which they believe has multi-million-dollar potential.
This is 100 milliliters. Bigleaf is darker and has richer flavors. This will tap into another line that will then run and tap into this. So some people use pumps to accelerate the flow, but this is all gravity set up here. Sap begins to flow. It typically flows for about 3 days, and the volume will decline each day as temperatures warm up. But you'll get 3 good days of the sap run, and then depending on how many trees you're tapping is the volume, right?
In those 3 days, everything stops. Work, holidays, sleep, and syrup becomes the only thing that matters.
We get the sap out in the field, we put it in those big tanks that are outside there, and we bring it in through that, and this is a reverse osmosis. We run it through this machine to concentrate the sugar. When it comes in, it's maybe 1.5% sugar content. It needs to be 67% to be maple syrup, so it's a lot of water you got to take out. So we can concentrate it quicker running it through the reverse osmosis. This is a propane fueled evaporator, and we just boil it and boil it and boil it. Once you produce the syrup, it's shelf stable. It'll stay at least 3 years. It's winter time, it's cold, it's rainy. You're tramping up and down steep hills, falling in the mud. It's hard work.
And boy, did we get a taste of that.
Many people, for better or worse, kind of know me as the maple guy. I do other things. I try to remind them, but I really love this part of my job. It's really great.
This is Patrick Schultz, aka the Maple Guy.
It's a little more of a bushwhack, but it's kind of fun to navigate up in there. It's a real pretty walk.
He's Washington State University's Bigleaf syrup forester, who oversees their not-for-profit maple syrup production.
So be careful though, because I've got these cedar stumps that are meant to keep your feet out of the mud. I'm from Michigan. Move out here, one of the first things I was asked was, hey, you know, can we tap maples for maple syrup? And at the time I was like, I don't know. So you're watching it, and then everything lines up and it's go, go, go. You're out in the woods tapping, and really consumes your life for a week or two at a time, but it's irresistible.
The University of Washington approached Patrick in 2019 to do a pilot study on tapping maple syrup. Surely, lugging heavy equipment over rugged terrain wasn't on our bingo card that day, but it was hard not to get lured into the maze of the Sugar Bush Trail.
Wow, this line is long.
At the end of the labyrinth, there it was. An intricate network of tubes, a passion project, equal parts genius and madness.
What we're seeing here is kind of what I call the central nervous system. We have tubing set up here, so a lot of people, when they think about sugaring, they think of buckets and stuff hanging off of trees, and that's still totally a good way to do it, but more for the hobby scale. When we get into making larger amounts, we do this, which is use plastic tubing and basically create like a reverse forest plumbing system. They're under a lot of tension, so it can be really tricky. Get it down there in a way that it's gonna stay. It should work.
And it should, barring other curveballs.
You can get vacuum leaks. Squirrels are active in the winter too. And a windstorm is kind of your worst nightmare because it blows down all the branches and stuff, knocks the tubing down. I've been out here at night with a headlamp many times, if I put it that way, I guess. Working late into the night fixing things up.
Folks like Patrick care less about holiday festivities or the winter cold, and more about tree sap. But more than that, they care about the rare, sustainable quality of bigleaf maple.
Just turned into this, what I like to call a clump. Multiple trunks that each of which can be tapped, and so it's kind of one of the advantages of bigleaf maple compared to a traditional sugar maple, which is a little more slow growing and tends to only have one stem.
And this same quality that Bigleaf maple offers versus regular sugar maple is the stuff of dreams to a commercial producer. When you meet Neil McLeod, you might either be reminded of Belle's father, the inventor Maurice, from Beauty and the Beast.
So the vacuum is going through my lateral line. And all these trees over here, they'll each have a tap in them.
Or the protagonist from the fantasy movie Big Fish.
Crab fishing at the bottom of Mount Pavlov, and it's blowing its top off. And you can see lava coming down. Amazing Alaska is. Okay, but then I got married.
Lifelong fisherman, vivid storyteller, and now maple whisperer, he's the godfather of Bigleaf maple syrup in Washington.
If you haven't burnt syrup, you're not a sugar maker, so I'm a sugar maker.
But before you know it, you already understand one thing.
Okay, this is my vacuum room. Okay, I'm running Airtech vacuums.
Neil McLeod
It's a real fool that likes the sound of his own name.
is made of big dreams.
My wife and Devin and grandkids, they all decided, nope, it's going to be Neil's Bigleaf maple syrup. And so that's how it got named. It wasn't my ego, okay?
A small and humble business by any commercial scale, Neil's Bigleaf maple syrup is unmatched by his outsized personality.
So I'm running it through my filter over here, and the whole thing glows. You can see some of it at the top of the, and it comes raining down on me, and I got to get out of there to go to the dentist, and with my hair plastered down with maple syrup. Those are the good days.
Neil worked 16 years as a fisherman before getting hooked on Bigleaf sugaring, and he took it, line and sinker.
My wife won't let me use regular sugar, and the only thing I could come up with was tapping maple trees.
The University of Washington told him in the 70s that he, quote, was only wasting his time.
I was ready to agree with them that this is a waste of time. I wasn't getting any sap whatsoever. And I drilled a tree, and all of a sudden the sap's just trickling out. And I go, I've done it.
Just a couple hours north of Seattle is his 200-acre Acme Valley farm that boasts hundreds of bigleaf maple trees along the banks of the Nooksack River, the heartland of Neil's Bigleaf maple syrup. A family-owned enterprise and the only commercial producer for bigleaf maple syrup in Washington state. And with consistent 5-star online reviews, it's no surprise that for him, business has been sweet.
There's people on the East Coast that have written to us saying that our syrup is actually better than theirs. We're just about sold out. By the time the new season rolls around, we will be out.
But for Neil, success didn't always come easy.
The first time I cooked for like 40 hours straight, I was hauling it out in 5-gallon buckets and cooking all night at home over a fire. My arms were getting longer carrying those buckets out. Learning to cook syrup, I burned a lot over a fire. I'd be cooking all night, and I'd fall asleep, and I'd wake up to smell burning maple syrup. And you go, oh man, after all this time, I've just ruined 70 gallons of sap.
While $42 for a 12-ounce bottle seems steep, for Neil, the proof is in the pudding, not the price tag.
People, and they'll go, wow, that's really expensive. Okay, but these same people are out buying a cup of coffee, but they're paying up to $5 for a cup of coffee, which I would never. I'd go, wow, how can you afford that?
Kent and Patrick explain the math and the misery.
Production's very limited, and like anything else, it's rare, hard to produce, tastes delicious.
I've got a 300 tap operation going here. And all of the equipment together probably costs around $15,000. That would be a very, very small operation, but it's possible to do something commercial. You need bigger tanks, you need a bigger evaporator, you need a bigger reverse osmosis machine, so that really adds up over time.
That premium is the price of rarity. And that rarity is baked into the biology of the tree.
But those characteristics that make it really weedy and vigorous are also the things that make it great for tapping.
For an operation with a return of investment that's seasonal and weather dependent, you can see how this boils down to a sticky situation for big leaf syrup producers and those who want to go commercial.
Right now, most people don't want to put up $50,000 to $100,000 to get started on something that is still really experimental.
Bigleaf maple is kind of a weed tree.
In timber country, big leaf maple has spent decades in the penalty box.
It's been seen that way for, the last 100 years or so, especially by forest industry.
Even though it shades the conifers that people actually want, the hardier woods that make for great flooring, and other wooden products.
Because, it outgrows conifers and timber species.
But big leaf maple, unbeknownst to many, provides a denser, more superior canopy than the coveted Douglas fir tree, for example, and doesn't take as much as what it gives economically.
They drop leaf litter and woody debris into streams, they shade streams as well, so they provide some of those habitat features that are really important for things like salmon restoration.
Its weed trait refusal to stay gone is the same superpower that makes it perfect for sugaring.
They would be considered low value, but with maple sugaring, they're really like a prize. They're kind of the best case scenario.
But because the timber industry still considers it a weed tree, maple sugarers are trying to change local laws around that.
They can't touch those trees, they can't log them, but they could easily be pulling sap out of them. Start leasing out land so that people can tap syrup on it. And I tried working with the DNR, and after 5 or 6 meetings and realizing that we weren't going to get anywhere, that no one was going to make a decision because who knows why.
First order of business, reports of committees, the Secretary will read.
During the 2025 legislative session, lawmakers introduced a proposal to carve out a pathway for small maple syrup operations.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Washington State Senate Ag and Natural Resource Committee.
Senate Bill 5778, which proposed Washington's first ever legal framework for maple syrup processors.
I only know, say, 5 people that are actually trying to become commercially involved, but none of them have actually passed the WSDA's standards.
See, right now, it's almost impossible for Washington maple hobbyists to sell syrup legally.
There's a few things that are working against producers here in the region.
On private land, and if I could have tied it into state land, I could have had this really big operation.
Going from no taps or a hobbyist tap operation of like 20 taps to a 1,000 tap operation and buying a commercial kitchen and all that. It's just not something that people are really willing to do very easily.
Even small-scale seasonal producers are required to have full commercial kitchens, stainless steel setups, industrial sanitation, and licensing built for year-round, full-scale food manufacturers.
Washington State could help out a lot if they would go to the Department of Natural Resources and go, hey, look, give these guys a break. Why are we just setting it up for logging Douglas fir?
Washington's food processing rules require things most forest producers simply can't build.
Needing to get a license that requires things like a separate bathroom with a septic, or even having a well on site. That can be really difficult for some people that are harvesting and processing sap on a remote forested parcel. At the end of the day, it's really not commensurate with other states that produce syrup.
The bill would allow sugar shacks to operate legally with scaled-down, sensible safety standards, without plumbing, industrial kitchens, or year-round inspections required. A main concern the bill would also address for producers is having the current food safety measure requirement scaled down to accommodate the nature of processing the syrup. In short, a way to finally turn this cottage craft into a legitimate Washington industry. It's got sugarers hoping it sticks.
For forest owners and farmers that rely on their land for income, this is another way to produce income, and it's producing income for one in kind of the off season in the winter.
I think there's a huge market for it, and I'm just barely touching the surface.
It's almost impossible to imagine that in the Northwest, a small group of people feel like bureaucracy undervalues something ecologically rich and economically promising. But there could be hope to change that to those fighting for it.
It gets people out in the woods in the winter when we're stuck inside. It helps people engage in their forests in a new way. It helps people create new connections, especially like family members, neighbors. There's a lot of community building value in sugaring.
I have a lot of stores asking if they can buy it wholesale from me to resell at their places, but I'm not making enough of it yet. I probably never will, but somebody else will.
They really want to make it work, and I think if the legislature can help them to get over that initial hill and they can become successful, I'm pretty optimistic other people will want to do it.
To the producers who chase that limited window every winter,
It's growing fast, and it's going to be able to produce a lot of syrup for decades to come.
it's worth every drop.
Whoever takes it over has to have certain skills. You got to be a mechanic. You got to like getting up early. You got to have the drive to do everything.
For Field Report, this is Angela Nolasco.